All right. Hello, and thank you all for joining us today. For anyone who doesn't know, my name is Silvia Zenteno. I'm the Director of Educational Programs and Training here at It's On Us. Today, we will be talking about online dating violence in a session that we actually worked with Tinder on. So thank you to their team as well for contributing. Before we get started, I actually wanted to share something that makes me really happy. I would say that these dog pictures were very popular during our Zoom University series, but it's really just me wanting to share more pictures of my dog Colin. So here we have some updated pictures of us engaging in our self-care, being outside as much as we can. He has to wear his little booties because he has really sensitive paws. And it's been a little bit too hot. So we just wanted to share this, and also always want to give you a reminder to, when you can, take a couple of minutes, whatever amount of time you can, for some self-care. And then beginning on the next slide, we are going to be sharing a pre-recorded Train the Trainer session that we did in this area. And I will be here live to answer any questions throughout as well. And at the end, I will come back with my video and we can answer any questions that don't get answered. If you just have any questions about the summit or about me, anything at all, we're happy to answer it. Please feel free to engage in the chat as much as you can. And thanks for the love for Colin. I'll keep sharing pictures of him as much as I can. All right, well, again, thanks for joining us, and we will get started.
Welcome to the It's On Us Online Dating Safety 101 workshop webinar. This is actually the first trainer type webinar that we are having on this topic, so that's exciting. Again, this is being recorded and we'll make it available to you afterwards, as well as any questions that we don't get to. So please direct questions to the chat area, which my colleague Elvin Bruno Jr., our Director of Campus Organizing, is monitoring. Your chat box is to the right of the screen on the bottom, or it should be, at least that's what it is on mine. And Elvin will do his best to answer them throughout the webinar, so feel free to put any in there. And then if we don't answer your question throughout, we're going to answer some at the end. So a big thank you to Elvin and to our colleague Kenyora from NRAPE on campus, who we've partnered with for the series. Kenyora is working all of the technical pieces for today's webinar. So the idea for this specific training module came from feedback, both from our students and from students that have worked with Tinder and on Tinder U. So thank you for Tinder for helping us put this together. This was a new and exciting project to do. So first I'll take a few minutes to introduce myself. For those of you who have tuned in before, I'm sorry that we're doing the intro slides again, but I think that they're really important since they're an overview of the whole initiative. So if that's repetitive for you, feel free to tune out for about 6 slides and then come back. So this is me in the red dress. I am the Director of Educational Programs and Training here at It's On Us. My pronouns are she, her, hers. Before coming here to It's On Us, I was at the Justice Department's Office on Violence Against Women, and then I worked under the Violence Against Women pillar at the Biden Foundation, and my background is in campus and youth sexual violence prevention and response programming. So now I get to sort of put all of those together, and I'm really excited to be here to talk to you today. So again, feel free to keep the questions coming in the chat if you need to. Otherwise, we'll get to some at the end. And you can send them to the whole group or just to Elvin if you need, whatever you feel comfortable with. So on today's webinar, we'll be discussing online dating violence. We will go over exactly what that means in a minute, and our goal is to provide you with the tools, the background, and information, so including all the data that we've collected, to host these trainings yourself on your campus, so that we can have a record amount of these around the country, either virtually this spring or maybe next year. But first, we'll be going over just some background information and materials. So, quick overview of our initiative. So, It's On Us began in 2014 in the Obama-Biden White House as a recommendation from the White House Task Force to Protect Students from Sexual Assault. For anyone who's not familiar with that group, that was a group of about 40 people who worked both in the administration, in federal government, and with different coalitions and groups around the country that were working in the area of campus sexual violence. It was a really, really impressive group. I was actually a part of that group, and it is like one of the most honorable things that I have been able to be a part of. Very thankful for that. But that group was studying this area, and at that time, student activists on campuses around the country activated to demand changes. And the It's On Us campaign came as a result of those demands for changes. So to date, 500,000 people have taken the It's On Us pledge and growing, which says that we all have a responsibility to be a part of a violence-free culture on our campuses. And students have held over 6,000 events around the country. So when it started as a campaign, students established their chapters, they took the pledge, but they really wanted to know what was next. So this has sort of grown into more of a program now. So this year is the 2019 to 20 academic year is our first year that we are rolling out our educational programs. We received feedback from students that they felt that a lot of the programming that existed was either too expensive, or the language was not student friendly, or the content was too broad and not adaptable to different communities. So we decided to take all of that feedback and make our own materials based on that. Actually, for those of you who watch Insecure, you will recognize the We Got Y'all logo on the bottom right. And this is especially relevant since Insecure is coming out with new episodes, I think, next week. Hopefully it doesn't get pushed. Very exciting. Anyway, that is the organization that Issa, the main character, works with and has a lot of frustrations with because it's the way that they are organized. We do not function that way. What is important is that we function like the diagram on the left of your screen in a very decentralized way. So our goal is to train student leaders that will lead and are well prepared to lead, that have the resources to do so in this movement. And that's how we think that the most change will be attained. Okay, so our process. We spent the first quarter of last year listening to students. We held a lot of focus groups and interviews, and then we developed material, piloted all of the material, and then refined it based on more feedback. So basically, we just talked to as many people as possible. Each educational tool was developed based on this direct feedback and the needs that were addressed by students. And they draw from the most up-to-date research and best practices, which we do cite in all of the tools and resources on our website if you end up checking those out. So on the bottom of the screen in blue, you will see our 3 pillars. Best practices tell us that you can achieve the most culture change on a campus if you have programming that covers community engagement. So which outside groups is your campus working with on this issue? Ways anyone can intervene or bystander education, and programming specifically on what your options are at your school. So our 3 pillars aim to address those 3 main areas. So this diagram shows some gaps that are identified in programming on a national level. We always like to say that there is, just a reminder that there's no national program that will be absolutely perfect for you, because the most effective way to get an audience to retain information and to use it is by centering the material to that audience. So that really depends on who you will be giving these trainings to. We encourage you to incorporate examples that are most relevant whenever you can in any of these trainings. So before we do get to the online dating safety piece, we wanted to share with you a facilitator's guide that we've developed and is available on our website for you to use if you need in preparation for your workshop. So I think we can show you the guide. There it is. So here's the guide. Just to show you what it looks like. Again, it's available online. There are just some things to consider before giving each of your workshops. The more prepared you are, the less likely you are to forget any important pieces. And you can print this out if you want and check the boxes off as you get ready, whatever you need. So that is available to you. So the next slide begins the PowerPoint slideshow that we are going to be providing online for you to use in your training. Feel free to choose the most relevant pieces in your presentation. Again, if you don't have a full hour of time like we do today, this training is actually a little bit shorter than our other pillar trainings. So just something to think about. And we do want to note that you will get the presenter comments in this slide show as well. Again, they're meant to offer ideas for presenting each of the slides, and they include some additional information, some extra stats, and some recommendations for group activities and discussion topics. And for this Train the Trainer session, we are going to be skipping over the group activities, but I'll share those with you as well. So today we're going to be talking about the intersection of online dating and dating violence, and just our table of contents. Alrighty, introduction. So this is a great opportunity to introduce yourself, similar to the way I did earlier, and anyone who's presenting with you, but also it's a good opportunity to get people around the room talking. If it's a group that hasn't been in the same place before, it's a really good time to do that. Usually I just ask for name, pronouns, and you can do a fun fact, favorite ice cream, favorite, I don't know, really anything you would like, anything fun, relevant. All right, so here we are, online dating violence. So over the past several years, online dating has transformed the way that we meet and we develop relationships. And studies show that dating apps and websites have become the most popular way for couples to meet now in the US. The we have a link to all of these studies in the presenter notes. So you could always print those out if you think they're interesting to the audience, whatever you need. But yeah, so platforms are adding more safety resources for the in-app experience to help their members stay informed. And be sure to look at their websites as well, because some of them have different resources. For example, Tinder is evolving what they're calling a safety center. So you can go there for tips and quizzes, and they have a blog as well for their just overall safety. So they're doing some really great things, and hopefully those will be integrated into the app. But for now, make sure to check out the websites. I know that they have some really interesting things coming for you. So yes, dating apps have helped remove the traditional barriers associated with meeting new people both on and off campus. And online dating can help you connect with people that you may have never met before in any other way. So with that in mind, just like meeting at a coffee shop or at a party, it's important to take precautions when getting to know someone new, and then later maybe meeting them in real life. So what is dating violence? So this is important to start with. In order to talk about online dating safety, we really need to talk about what dating violence is and how to identify it. Dating violence is usually a series of abusive behaviors that occur over a course of time used to exert power and control over a dating partner. We know that young women experience the highest levels of intimate partner violence. This includes a third of teens, and this is huge. 90% of people who experience dating violence experience some sort of financial abuse as well. That's something that we don't talk about a whole lot, but we really should be talking about more. So this is a really great diagram created by Break the Cycle. We want to always make sure to give proper credit when presenting. And try to leave this on the screen for a few seconds so that people can take a picture of this or write it down if they need. When this was presented for the first time at our first, so back to when we had our in-person national tour, but at our first stop, this was presented for the first time, and we just printed this out and handed it out to attendees. So that's another option if you have the resources to do that. All right, well, so online dating violence can be any verbal, emotional, digital, especially with the increase of social media and stalking, or financial abuse, again, through the use of technology. We often define violence in a relationship as only physical violence when there are other more subtle components to a relationship that can be extremely unhealthy and can affect us. Actually, in 2016, the UK's National Crime Agency, NCA, flagged online dating offenders as their new type of sexual offender, because online dating offenders are less likely than other sexual offenders to have committed any other crime before, but they exploit the ease of access approach to meeting people on a dating site or an app. So it's something that's interesting to know, and these stats are important to go over as well when you present this. We want you to do everything you can to stay safe, but it's extremely important to acknowledge that it shouldn't have to be that way. You should not have to go out of your way to be safe, and it's completely unfair that some people have to take more precautions than others based both on biological sex, on gender identity, racial identity, sexuality, and we wanted to make sure to mention that. if you are engaging with someone new online, it's important to never give that person your personal information, so your address, social security number, financial information, things like that. Don't give them your phone number until you feel really comfortable. If you are engaging for someone new online, for example, there are some things you can do, like not give that person your personal information. Don't give your phone number away and switch off the app unless you feel really comfortable doing that. Take your time when you're doing that, because there are some in-app resources for safety that you can use if you're still chatting within the app. So it's just something to know. And also make sure to report any suspicious inappropriate behavior that you see whenever you can. But if you are going to meet them in person, here are some tips to follow. Make sure that you stay in public, have a transportation plan so that you don't have to rely on them, and don't share, again, any personal information that you don't have to, especially that this person is brand new to you. So we highly recommend that you let a friend know where you are. Maybe share your location with them if that's something you feel safe doing. Tell them what your plan is so that they know to check in on you and when to check in on you, what the date is supposed to look like, where you'll be. And when in doubt, look up your date or the person that you're meeting with to make sure that they are real. Just do a search, see who they are. And this can also help you so that you know who you're looking for when you do meet them in person. All right, so is your day going well? Every person that you meet will have their own boundaries and expectations. So communication is really key here. This is where consent comes into play, and it's a necessary part of any relationship, and we are here to help you with that. So again, consent is a permission that is or is not given for something, any sexual activity to happen. If you're meeting with someone in person, you have the responsibility to respect their boundaries, and you can also set your own boundaries. If you're out with someone, remember that you must be comfortable and actively consenting for any sexual activity to happen. If you're ready to take things to the next step with them, you have to make sure that you receive their consent at every step of the way. So again, this is just a diagram that Planned Parenthood put on that we really enjoy, so we wanted to have it here for you to use as well. And again, this is just a definition of consent that we use in all of our webinars, in all of our training. Feel free to go over it. This is also something you can easily print out, give out. On our website, we have a resource that says exactly this. That looks a little bit nicer if you want to print that out. So feel free to do so. And remember that whether this person that you're meeting is new or it's an old friend, the rules of consent still apply. So having said that, consent doesn't always have to be verbal, but verbally agreeing to different sexual activities can help both you and your partner respect each other's boundaries. Consent is clear, enthusiastic. It should be ongoing throughout sexual activity. It's really important for everyone in the relationship to feel comfortable with what's happening and communicate that either verbally or non-verbally every single step of the way. And of course, keep in mind that it is not limited to sexual activity. So work to establish mutual interest in physical touch, to make sure that you are aware of each other's comfort levels and that you can see clear boundaries when you can. Remember that people who are under the influence of drugs or alcohol cannot consent. Again, be clear about your intentions and know that no date has the right to push your boundaries. If you are considering engaging in any kind of sexual activity, let the other person know what works for you. So find ways that you can both communicate ongoing consent. If you're not sure about engaging in any activity with your date, that's not consent. So remember, lack of a no is not a yes. And there is a link on this slide that anyone is welcome to check out, and we encourage you to do so, because there can be differences in the legal definitions of consent depending on where around the country you are located. So when used correctly and consistently, condoms can significantly reduce the risk of contracting and passing on STIs like HIV, but be aware that STIs like herpes and HIV can be passed through skin-to-skin contact, and not all STIs show symptoms. If you don't want to be in the dark about your status, stay on top of your health, and prevent the spread by trying to get tested as often as you can. And there's a link here where you can find a clinic. What if your date isn't going well? There are things that you can do. So set up an exit plan ahead of time. You can give a friend a code word that means that you need them to send help, or that you need them to call you. Make sure that you clearly identify the action they should take when you send them this word. For example, using code words to ask for a tampon, for example. Leave if you feel safe doing so. It's okay to either to be honest about it or to make something up. Here's some examples. I'm sorry, I have a really bad stomach ache coming on. I have to go. Really, whatever you need, it's okay. You don't have to feel guilty about it. Or a simple, I'm feeling tired. If you see someone you know in the coffee shop or wherever you are, you could flag them down and ask them to join you if you feel comfortable doing that. It can also be helpful to pick a place that you know you're likely to bump into a friend, or where you know the servers, in case you need someone to intervene on a really bad date. So you can also ask the bartender or server for help. Wait for a moment when your date maybe goes to the bathroom or is away from you to ask someone at the restaurant or the place wherever you are for help. You could ask them to call the cops if you feel like you're in danger. You can ask them to use their phones if yours has died, to call a friend, or you can just ask them to bring the check if you want to quickly get out of there. Some bars even have signs in the bathrooms that instruct you that you can flag the servers, sometimes using code words, which we've seen and is really helpful. I'm located in DC, and we have an organization that's dedicated to this called DC Bars. So if you are in an area that has that, that's even better. This is something we want to make sure to talk about, that ghosting has become very common in society. And it is something that you may have done. And you can go to the next slide. So this screen grab is actually a text message that I sent. Sometimes you just need to end things with someone, and it can be really stressful. Whether you've been on a couple of good dates or like some good ones, some not so good ones, and that can cause a lot of anxiety. But remember to do what is best for you, and sometimes it's okay to ghost. Sometimes it's okay to not know what to say. But if you think it's possible to communicate with them that you're not interested, sometimes that's helpful for them as well. And it can help you so that you don't get those extra text messages from them, because that incoming can also be stressful and triggering. So we just wanted to make sure to mention that. And now we have our group activities, which again, we're not going to do this group activity today, but when you present this training, you can just instruct everyone to find a partner and take the next couple minutes or however much time you have to share one or two examples of strategies that you can use to get out of a date. So similar to the strategies that we went over earlier, they can list some of those, maybe things that others have done, a code word that they used with their roommates, anything like that to get the conversation flowing a little bit. So those are just the instructions that you're welcome to keep on the board. And if you have access to bigger boards of paper that you can write on, you can give each group something like that. And then at the end of that, just go around the room and you can have everyone share, which might be helpful in case some groups had more examples than others. But really just have a good time with this, get people talking, get people engaging so that this is something that they retain and they remember to use in their day-to-day life. And that activity is the last part of the training.
All right, well, thanks so much. That was our online dating safety training, and now I am here to answer any questions that you might have. I know that I got some privately that I did try to answer, but if there weren't answers to your questions, or if you have thought of others, please feel free to ask them. Again, thanks to Tinder for helping us create this webinar, this Train the Trainer session. It was really nice to collaborate with them on this. I'm glad you liked the graphics. All right, I'm not seeing other questions. Again, if anyone does want to send some follow-up questions, please feel free to email me. My email is it's just Silvia@civicnation.org. I can put it in the chat as well. Okay, thank you. And we got a lot of questions asking where you can find the recordings. The recordings will be on the Summit Series website, which is the bit.ly/Summit Series 20 in all caps. And they will live on the NRAPE on Campus website, and then eventually will also be on the new It's On Us website once we launch that. So feel free to check back with us. Oh, yep, there we go. Kenura posted that. Thank you so much. Feel free to check back there, and we'll also be connecting with all of you via email as well. All right, thank you so much.